believe that should be fixed right now. There's an issue with the stream key. I think some of it got cut off, but hopefully it'll be good to go now. Sometimes that doesn't show up. Alrighty. Let me just update information, and we can start talking about this juicy pick ban, because this is looking a little spicy right here. I should be live. I'm just going to double check real quick. Oh, wait, no. For anyone that's watching, this is going to be the second week, I believe, of the fall tournament in the Dragon bracket. Alright, looks like we are good to go. Anyways, this is going to be a match between Team 1 and Team 2. I'm not sure if these teams have already played or if oh, no, this is the first week still of the Dragon bracket. So these guys are just kind of rounding out their week, trying to get some of them games in. This is between, I guess I don't know if these teams have been together before in the past, but to start this one off, we do have a lot of mid lane bans I want to point out on the blue side right here against a few mid lane bans on the right side. Hold on. Let me just make sure the settings are right. Alright. Get the spoiler banners up. Unfortunately, with the new client, can't actually see the summoner spells for the red team anyways. But anyways, my name is Sprintspeed. Welcome to the Capital One, or not the Capital One Circuit anymore, the University of Maryland College Park Fall Tournament. This is the Dragon bracket, so we have the ranks from bronze to gold in this one. I did previously cast Team 1 versus Team 2 of the upper bracket earlier this week with my good old buddy Jesse Wang, I do believe. But this one is going to be with a different Team 1, Team 2. Both teams are equally shittily named, I might add. I'm not sure if they are doing custom team names, but because everyone just has these boring numbers for their names, but come on. Come on, guys. You can come up with something a little more fun than that. Getting into the picks and bans, we do have, like I said, I think the only one that really doesn't surprise me so far is that Sejuani on the red side. From bans, that's a very popular pick these days, and we can actually see that the blue team is going Kog'Maw, Cho'Gath, Sona. So even though Sona isn't maybe the premier level support on the world stage, she definitely still qualifies in that kind of tier of allowing and enabling your AD carry to really perform at the highest level with items like the Ardent Sensor. I know, I'm not sure if Quick Ben Ace is going to be playing that, my buddy Evan right there, but Sona does also give you that extra initiation, very similar to the Annie, where you can go in for a flash crescendo if there are any fights that you want to get started right off the bat. Oops, I opened plays.tv. That might be a little annoying, but you guys won't see that. So on the red side, I do want to point out we have Irelia, Amumu Brand. Now, these three champions are they're all a little bit interesting, so I want to give a little bit of time to each of them. Meanwhile, we see the Yasuo band coming out on the red side. So Irelia is not a champion that's seen a lot of action, but with the new Sterak's gauge, she actually is kind of busted at the moment because Sterak's gives you an extra 30% tenacity. If you add on to that the 30% you get from Mercury Treads, Irelia's passive gives her built-in tenacity, so she is actually almost impossible to keep down in fights if she is in a good spot. And she definitely has not a bad matchup into Cho'Gath, I believe. I haven't seen this matchup in the recent patches, but Irelia is known for being pretty dominant when she gets a couple of item spikes like the Sheen and the Triforce. So I'll be looking to see some of those level 6 to level 11 type ganks maybe from the red team, from that Amumu, or to see if Irelia can really start snowballing this lane. Now, Amumu is touted as one of the best team fighting junglers in the game. He has a very poor wave clear, so if the blue team do decide to maybe try to counter him, doing some invades or the like, might pose a big problem. We'll see what kind of jungler that the blue team decide to go for here, or if they decide to swap that Cho'Gath into the jungle, because that is a valid strategy, even though if it's not quite as popular as the top lane. But Amumu, a little bit vulnerable to that, but if you can survive, he is definitely going to be bringing a lot of damage, a lot of AoE, and a lot of CC to the table for the entire red side, as well as being that main frontliner that you really want to see. Brand, a lot of people have seen Brand support in the last year or two, but the most recent patch has actually buffed Brand's in-lane solo lane mana regen. Hello, Beaton H, saying hi in the chat. Just kind of, hey guys, throwing out to you. Draven, this is also, Draven, if this guy locks in the Leona, this lane is a nightmare for Kog'Maw Sona, let me tell you. Kog'Maw is not one of the best laners in the bottom lane. People usually pick him because he does get some decent poke, and somebody dodged, unfortunately. Okay, so it looks like they're using a placeholder, which I wasn't really aware of, but it looks like they're all on the same page. So, so basically, just to explain what a placeholder is, blue team wanted to draft in a particular order. Oh, I guess they're already back in it. Okay, so it will be the same pick band, the same team compositions, except for instead of the Jarvan, they are going Olaf. As long as they... Oh, okay, they did... Alright, cool. He did message me that. I just don't usually check my messages in the middle of casting for obvious reasons. But, anyways, basically what they did is a placeholder. So they wanted to draft their team compositions for a particular strategy. I don't think I have anyone on the friends list for the right side, so hopefully they do the same exact pick ban. But basically, you pick a random champion. Usually it's a non-meta champion, so there's no confusion. But, I mean, I guess if they're being clear about it, then that's fine. And you do it in a specific pick order for strategic purposes. But if not everybody on your team has every champion to swap around, then you pick a random champion, remake the lobby, and then you do it in any order you want, but retaining the same compositions on both sides. And this guy picked a Janna, which I don't think was... Alright, a little bit of confusion here. But anyways, hopefully there won't be too many hiccups. We can get into this game. Let's see, what was it? It was Cho, Olaf. Their mid laner was it Vel'Koz? No, they banned Vel'Koz. I don't know if I remember their mid laner, but anyways, I do want to talk about they had Draven Leona on the red side. That is an incredibly aggressive lane and is one of the hardest snowballing lanes in the game. Mid was Victor. Okay, thanks, dude. Yeah, that's right. I just didn't really get to talk about it much when we went through the pick ban. So, I think particularly into a Kog'Maw Sona, that offers a lot of poke because Kog'Maw, you get the Bio-Arcane Barrage, the extra range to get in a few autos. And of course with the Sona, you have your Power Word, Power Chord. Hymn of Valor is what it is. Power Chord is their passive. So that gives you a lot of poke, but if you're up against a Leona Draven, those two champions are some of the strongest to go in, to go all in any kind of 2v2s. We did also see, if any of you guys are hip to Worlds, I believe it was Misfits that picked against SK Telecom. They locked in a Leona running Fervor for battle against their enemy laners. And I'm not going to try to spoil any Worlds. I actually didn't watch the 5th game of Cloud9 versus WE. So please, no spoilers, because that would be very sad. But their strategy was they want to go with a very aggressive bottom lane, and Fervor Leona, you get a lot of extra damage from your auto attacks if you're able to stack that and land hits at level 1. So in a similar fashion, if Leona can lock down the Sona, if Sona walks up to poke a little bit more than she should, Draven can basically 3-shot her. And that's not even factoring in the Leona damage. So this is an incredibly delicate lane that blue team has to go forward with. Now, they do have an Olaf in the jungle, or he could be top lane. Usually you have Olaf jungle and Cho'Gath top, but you could swap both of those around. Those are both a little flexible, so you don't know what it is yet. But assuming it's an Olaf jungle, that is a very aggressive early game jungler. So I think maybe at the very early levels you want to be aggressing onto the Amumu and maybe try to stop him from getting a lot of free clears. And then when you're going forward during the lane phase, you want to bring that Olaf to the bottom lane to give your Kog'Maw and your Sona a little bit of breathing room, because as it stands, a Kog Sona lane is basically one overstep over from getting instantly double killed, unless they burn all their summoners immediately. So I'm really excited for this bot lane matchup. That's going to be very spicy. I don't really know what the status is of the bottom lane players with respect to the ranks of the other people on their team. A lot of times when we have these kind of captain drafts tournaments, we see that the captains of the teams, the higher ranked people, usually get a little bit more of the jungle focus, jungle attention, and a lot of times the game plan revolves around these captain players. And for good reason. If you have, quote unquote, the best player on your team, you want to give them the freedom and the resources to flex on the enemy and to bring about your win condition, because presumably they're the best equipped and the most knowledgeable in terms of how to get there. Now, looks like we are getting into the game. Just going to remove the spoilers. And actually, it is a reversal of roles. I could see it the whole time, but you guys couldn't. It is Olaf Cho'Gath, but Olaf top lane and Cho'Gath jungle. So, this is really important for one reason, and that is Olaf is very good into Irelia. If you max your Undertow, or not the Undertow, I think you max the Reckless Swing, every time Irelia tries to trade with you, you just deal like 200 true damage or whatever it is at rank 5. And she has a really rough time trying to get in range to get that CS, because Irelia has 0 safe wave clear opportunities, as she has to actually be in melee range to get them. And you can, maybe when she's level 6, she can use the Transcendent Blades, get a little bit of sustain. But again, that's only once every, 60, 70 seconds, whatever that cooldown is. And also, she has to get to level 6 without dying to get to that point. So, that being said, this is a very topsy-turvy type of lane matchup setup, where you have the bottom lane, which I would strongly favor the Draven Leona in, and the top lane, where I would strongly favor Olaf. And importantly, Lennox is the team captain of the blue side team. So presumably, he is going to know how to use this champion to its maximal effectiveness. So I'm going to be very curious to see where Cho'Gath decides to focus, if he really wants to try to snowball Olaf ahead and try to use that Olaf ultimate and his supporting him to try to stampede through the game, or if he wants to try to spread the love a little bit, make sure Kog'Maw and Sona do not get completely stepped on by this super aggro initiation. Now, unfortunately, because the new League client is not very good with spectator mode, maybe it's the resolution I have the client in, but I can't really see very well what the summoner spells are. It looks like Draven is running heal, and I think Sona's running exhaust, but it's a little hard to see. I basically have to go off what these colors are. If we have Ignite Leona, then that's very dangerous, because Sona has one of the lowest base armors in the game, which is in part why I've been saying this is such a dangerous matchup. In terms of the mid lane, we do see Victor is actually running the cleanse. So, very aware of the fact that basically he loses mid lane if he gets stunned by Brand or stunned by Mumu. So I think the cleanse is definitely the right summoner spell to go here. A lot of times you see Victors run the Ghost in addition to your Flash, just so you can stay in range and try to kind of get your siphoning power auto attack off in addition to the rest of your abilities, and try to kite around, because Victor is a very zone control type champion in terms of where you want to place your gravity well, where you want to use your death ray. But we are going to get into game on this one. No more theory crafting, no more wondering, in this one, we're about to go into one of my favorite parts of the game, the loading screen, to see what kind of borders we have. Or what kind of skins we have. Sorry, not borders. I mean, I guess they'll all be like gold, silver, bronze. Variations of that. But we'll see which team has the better and deeper pockets coming into this. So I do notice right off the bat that nobody has club synergy. But it looks like nothing too... I mean, I like the Butcher Olaf, I like the Creator Victor, but Primetime Draven, I think, is just in a bit of a tier on its own and when it comes to these skins, and little unfortunate. And I think he kind of takes the cake, so I think I gotta give it to Red Team on this side. In this matchup between these teams. Important to note that Leona did go Exhaust, so Exhaust basically brings you not as much lane pressure, but it's a little bit better later on in the game. When you have to deal with that late game Kog'Maw, then Exhaust is a little bit of a better summoner spell, but it's not as useful in the early levels to snowball. I think it's still, you can definitely still make things happen, and it's still a good summoner spell, because especially Kog'Maw doesn't have any mobility, and almost all of his damage is coming from the auto attacks. He does have a little bit from his Bioarcane, or from his Void Ooze and his Living Artillery, but the majority of that damage depletes his mana very fast. So for AD Kog'Maws, you can't actually spam that too much in a team fight. Alright, people are stunned to load in. We'll see if anybody goes for any level 1 shenanigans. I do want to say Red Team has the stronger level 1 just because Draven, Leona are very strong early game team. You have the Amumu for extra CC, and Brand does a decent amount of damage. So if anyone were to invade, I would have to guess it's Blue Team, but I could be wrong. So we'll just have to wait and see. Everyone kind of... and I also just got a new mouse, so sorry if the movement's a little jarred. Just getting a little bit used to that. Oh, team. All right, Tiny AJ. I'm sorry, that's not the not ideal. And yeah, I definitely do organize the scoreboard. So right before the players load in, there's like a period of time when you're spectating where the game isn't like technically loaded. So if you reorder the scoreboard, then it actually goes back to whatever it defaulted into. So that's why I just waited until they're on the summoning platform. My mom needs help with groceries. That's a little unfortunate here. It should be tournament draft, so if he's not memeing, if he needs to leave, we can pause the game, or we should be able to. I think he is just just joking around though. That's a little strange. That might be something you could plan around, like, listen, Mom, I'm not available for like an hour, just please. Anyways, looks like neither team gonna invade. They don't really have the perfect scouting for the invades, but I do really like this ward placed by Aurelia, and she placed it pretty late. I think it was at like 1:30, and that'll actually spot if Cho'Gath starts the blue buff and walks into a red steel. She'll be able to see him, because you can see right now he's finishing the red buff. If he were to be invading, that would catch him right there. But Amumu's just going to be pretty happy to start blue, go Raptors, and then get red. Amumu is actually pretty decent at clearing Raptors, just because the two abilities you get early levels are both AoE. So, like I said, the Olaf is getting a little bit of extra lane pressure in the early levels. He's level 2 there, so there's the Reckless Swing. That is basically going to be Soku's life for the next 5 to 10 minutes, trying not to die and trying to withstand this Olaf. I'll say going for the Longsword, Longsword 1-pot does give you extra long-term sustain. So I think that's a good choice to choose that over something like the Doran's Blade. Because if you get a Doran's Blade, while that gives you the extra 80 health as an item, if you have to all-in him early levels, if Aurelia knows he has to be playing passively, then getting the extra potions is actually more health effective. Not as money effective, but Aurelia right now just wants to survive until she can get Triforce, and that can sometimes be the turning point of this matchup. So it looks like both junglers are actually aiming to maybe make something happen here. Cho'Gath just finishing up the Scuttle Crab, and Amumu gets spotted here. There comes a Rupture, not gonna land, and both top laners are at pretty healthy, they're looking pretty healthy so far, so neither of them are really looking to engage. Aurelia does have 1 potion left, but that is the benefit of going for that Longsword 3 pot start. Once she runs out of that, then Olaf will slowly start to whittle her down. But Olaf really has to be careful not to spam his Undertows too frequently here, because since Undertow, the axe throwing ability, since that cooldown gets refunded every time you pick it up, a lot of Olafs try to maximize their DPS by spamming it all throughout the lane. And even though that does do a good job, if you can land them, that does a good job at getting a lot of poke damage down, it's not as mana efficient as using your Reckless Swing to harass. So now he's going to be getting level 4, and since Aurelia has a huge minion wave advantage, it's actually going to be Aurelia winning out the trade so far. And Lennox just wants to heal up a little bit, actually uses the Reckless Swing to get a CS, which means he's not going to have it up for the Aurelia. And using the Undertow to harass her a little bit. Here comes Cho'Gath, though. Aurelia just used her Blade Surge to get in on this. A teleport coming out from the Brand. Interesting that he's running that Summoner spell. But yeah, it looks like nobody dies, and actually Kog'Maw gets the first blood. That was a little bit debated there from my directed camera in the lane phase. Normally, lane phase directed camera is very useful because it can catch action. But I decided to watch a cancel teleport. I think Draven took a turret shot because he was standing pretty aggressively there. Actually, there goes Victor. Gonna be hooked by the Amumu. A pretty solid engage. Now, Cho'Gath trying to come in and 2v1, but Victor's out of mana. Victor's out of health. Is Brand gonna be able to dissuade him from continuing? Looks like both people back off, and a little bit of mana left for Brand to maybe shove out this wave, but he has to be so careful not getting chomped over by that Cho'Gath. Kog'Maw going to be very happy in this lane to shove it into the Draven, be able to go back, get a purchase. Looks like he does have 1,400 gold to start building toward that Ginsu's Rage Blade. He's going to be able to get a pickaxe and a dagger. Lennox, meanwhile, taking a bit more punishment. Well played by Soku here. I don't know if Olaf has backed yet. Looks like he's going to do it now. So we'll see if after Olaf kind of regains his health pool, his mana pool, if he'll be able to continue trying to aggress on the Aurelia. But so far, Soku's doing a fantastic job in this counter matchup. He does grab a Ninja Tabby, so that is going to be very useful against the Aurelia in the lane phase. And as the game progresses, if he wants to go into a more split push style approach to the game, that'll give him even better functionality there. Looks like an Undertow going to come through. Is there going to be one more to land? He gets stunned at a turret, pops a Reckless Swing, but he is so healthy after coming back from base. That's going to be 1 kill over to Lennox. And Soku had been playing that lane so well. It's a little unfortunate that he didn't respect that Olaf teleporting back, because obviously early levels, the Reckless Swing, or the Undertow, if you keep throwing out those axes, you run out of mana, but you also dish out a bunch of damage, and at that moment, when Aurelia is already at half health, you just need a little bit of that damage. So well played by Lennox, knowing he can, even though he's getting a little bullied, he can keep doing it, and Kog'Maw just taking complete advantage of Aolang. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but taking complete advantage of the range buff Kog'Maw gets from his Bio Arcane Barrage. Draven going to be in a world of hurt there. So, unfortunately, if you're in that situation on the red side, when the wave is pushed up to the turret, it's very difficult for you to respond to damage there, and Draven just sat there taking multiple autos. You have to be very decisive, where normally you want to go all in with the Draven, but if it's under tower, obviously you probably won't win that trade, so you just need to make sure to wait for the wave to get out into a more safe position, like it is now. So for instance, if Kog'Maw and Sona start going aggressive, Leona can try to throw out a Zenith Blade, and if she lands some CC, then they can probably still win the matchup, even though Draven's already down a couple hundred health. But when you're under tower, Draven definitely has to respect the range from Quick Ben Ace, because this guy dealing lots of damage with his recurve bow. And Brand does tag Victor there with a little bit of that Conflagrate Blaze passive. So if he gets in range, that could be another stun coming out from the Brand. But it looks like they're going to both be playing this pretty passively. Brand does have the superior shoving power in the early levels before Victor is able to get his upgraded Death Ray. So that does give him a little bit of freedom if he wants to maybe roam to one of the side lanes. Or in this case, he used the time to kind of clear up that pink ward just to maybe give Amumu the opportunity to gank. Now, Amumu going for that the Hunter's Potion, actually giving him a little bit of longer time in the jungle, while Cho'Gath is counter-jungling right here. So he knows that Olaf is pushed up, and Olaf would be able to help out Cho'Gath if Amumu were to fight him. And Amumu is still unaware that he did actually lose his red buff. So, well played by Destructive Life, maybe recognizing the fact that Amumu's clear isn't super fast. Normally, when you abuse the Amumu jungling, that's at the that's during the very first clear, because Mumu's health can drop kind of low. But still, either a calculated risk. Sorry about the camera. That's just the new mouse getting a little weird. But Mumu actually going in with a bandage toss. He's going to follow up with Curse of the Sad Mummy. Here comes Irelia, but she's getting so low because Olaf doesn't care at all. Lennox just pops the Ragnarok and slams into him. Here comes Brand. He didn't even have to teleport. He's walked up, and little does he know he's spotted out into this bush by that tricky ward that has been there for a few minutes. Gonna see if he can catch another champion trying to face check, but the blue team is the wiser for the moment. So, oh no, now Brand's gonna be the one caught in the bush. He does get engaged on. Flash gonna be burned. I don't know if Victor's gonna be able to follow up on here. Here comes Olaf Undertow. He probably will be able to finish up the kill, but here comes Draven and Amumu. Picking up a double kill, wow. Very, very timely roam here from the Draven. Good communication by the team saying that, listen, we know that the enemy team is kind of around. Maybe we can try to make something happen. And Olaf did get the one kill, but looks like Soku's going to be getting his retribution here. Draven taking that one over for himself. And even though Quick Ben Ace and friend Deja Vuli, I think is his name, even though they're doing a good job earlier on, this is going to be a world of hurt once he gets back to lane. He's already finished his Essence Reaver, which is pretty dang useful as a single item. A lot of times the Infinity Edge, we can talk about not having the full gold value when you first buy it, because a lot of that is in Critical Strike. A lot of the gold value you get from the Infinity Edge comes from the Critical Strike passive. And if you don't have enough Critical Strike to make that happen consistently, that's a little bit wasted as a first item, which is why a lot of times you see the BF Sword into Hurricane into Infinity Edge, so you could get that 50% crit once you invest that gold into the full finished item. That being said, the Essence Reaver actually gives you the immediate cooldown reduction. It gives you mana regen if you crit, which isn't as necessary. It looks like I might finish that thought later, though, because Lennox going very aggressive again. He knows he is Olaf. Once he picks up that final axe, that could be another kill. He's 4-1 right now. Looks like Victor again getting caught out. Unfortunately for him, he has been walking into a few bushes that maybe he shouldn't be. Now, to be fair, this one was in his own jungle, but especially in these tournaments, you want to make sure that you keep your team vision up, and Sona isn't here to follow up with the crescendo, so that means that the red team is going to be able to back off. But Cho'Gath just letting the enemy team know that even though Draven has double buffs, making sure Kog'Maw has the freedom to continue CSing, so making sure that they can try to keep that alive. And looks like Cho'Gath, because he was bot side, going to be going for a very aggressive Infernal Drake. They did, I believe, have vision of the Brand topside. Looks like he's walking over a ward there. So good knowledge that there's no danger from the mid lane. Actually, Cho'Gath walking back and forth. He might be trying to come in here with the two-man crescendo. Yes, Sona lands it. That's going to be a follow-up from the Kog'Maw. Just needs one more to land. Quick Ben Ace is running out of mana. This is the problem with 80 Kog'Maw, but there goes Sona. No worries. Follows in with the power chord. They're going to be stealing another blue buff here. So Olaf teleporting in just in case he was needed. Turns out he wasn't really, but now that he does, he was able to help secure the blue buff. That could be a 4-man siege mid. Oh, scratch that. Actually, 5-man siege mid. Everyone's still here. They got the wave clear from Victor. They've got the damage from the Kog'Maw, and it looks like Olaf not going to be returning back to the top lane here. Amumu thinking about going in, flirting with the possibility of Curse of the Sad Mummy. Sona is so low. I don't know if they want to 2v5 this, though. Its Spire doesn't even need to get in there. He just throws out another spell, gets a return kill, and Irelia gets the top turret. So a good response here from the red side, realizing that even though they're outnumbered, if they can try to poke Sona down, one of the most fragile champions in the game, like I said, that they're able to make that happen. And Sona going for a Blasting Wand, which I don't agree with at all, for a number of reasons. First of all, I think you should be rushing Ardent Censer, probably, for your support, which does not build out of the Blasting Wands. I think he's probably going for a Lich Bane here. I believe that's the third component in the Lich Bane. You have the Sheen, you have the Aether Wisp, and then the Blasting Wand. But other than that, I think you should finish Boots probably first, just so that you don't get into situations where you're getting caught out by the enemy team, because there's such strong engage on the red side. That being said, I will wait to see if she gets punished for her lack of upgraded boots, or her inability to roam because of the boots, or if maybe the extra poke comes out. Maybe she does offer some of that extra damage in the end. She did pick up that kill onto Draven, but that might have been as a result of some ability power, but you could also get that with some upgraded mobility boots. Looks like people going in is going to be Olaf. Another fantastic crescendo. That's going to be completely bad news bears for this team, and Deja Vulzi. Oh no, just barely going down. Unfortunate. Now, if he had any other item, I don't think that would have saved him, because you generally do not get tanky on the Soda. But that is gonna be the Blaze passive just ticking out there for the brand. And if he's running Deathfire Touch, that could also definitely contribute a little bit. Irelia continuing to push this top lane, but she really needs the back because she has no vision. And she has knowledge that the blue team are all just mid, so she has no teleport. She needs to run ASAP. Looks like she might just be getting collapsed on, which is a free kill for the blue team, but that might mean that they don't do Rift Herald, which could be worth it for them in the end. Actually, Olaf misses the Undertow. There's the Rupture, though. Not sure if the Chaos Storm was completely needed, but Best Biscotti going to be happy to pick up that kill, put that cash in his pockets, try to become the Lord of Chaos that Victor really is. The ultimate creator. I guess Lord of Chaos maybe isn't really a title he holds, but if he has Chaos Storm, then I feel like that should qualify him enough. If I had a co-caster here, I'd try to get them to agree with me, but all I have is the ability to talk to myself. I will be joined by Alrighty in the next two games, which is if you guys are excited to get some duocast action, I will be following Team 9 and their struggles through the first week. I am good friends with Nug on their team, who is a former officer, Paul Liu. Now, anyways, both these teams trying to set up mid lane. It's interesting that you have the Kog'Maw into the Brand bottom. Now, Brand going to have the superior shove, means he can hit that, push that onto the tower, and then roam mid to try to help out the rest of his team. Looks like he's not actually going to do that. He's just going to try to see if he can find a kill on the Quick Ben Ace. A good decision by Quick Ben to go left and avoid that Seer. I guess that constitutes Brand missing the Seer, but from the position he aimed it at, it looks like he was expecting Kog'Maw to kind of dodge. So just an unfortunate dodge prediction. Quick Ben went the other way. Sometimes that happens whenever you're playing around. You just gotta get in their head, try to understand their dodge patterns. Maybe in the future that means he's understood Evan on this Kog'Maw, and now he can infer where the dodge patterns will show up next. I also want to point out that Kog'Maw actually did have the Doran's shield, and I never really mentioned that. That's pretty interesting, but looks like Cho'Gath going super aggressive onto the Draven. Here comes Olaf. He pops the flash, gets out the Undertow. He still has a lot of mana here, so undertows for days. If he keeps slowing down Amumu, Quick Banace might be able to put in the extra damage, but they're all on the line. A double crescendo again from the Sona, but a good turnaround from the Kog'Maw. You do not want to get grouped up into a corridor versus the brand Amumu. Here comes Leona just to follow it up. A great position there from the red side. Oops, I paused it. Yeah. I mean, that was a good crescendo. But importantly, she did not clip the Amumu. He was able to jump back in there, throw out the Curse of the Sad Mummy, and once you have Curse of the Sad Mummy followed by the Leona brand, I'm sorry, my dudes, but it is over. That's just a level of AoE that is very difficult to live through, especially considering the blue side had already used most of their cooldowns to try to get in that position in the first place. So that does mean that red team are going to try to be taking down this Cloud Drake instead of maybe going for an alternative like sieging the mid lane. Death Ray comes out from Victor. He's good attempt. He could have cleared that ward first. That was kind of spotting him out earlier if he so chose. He's actually going to be poking pretty aggressively there. If she wanted to, I think Leona could have gone all in on that. If she had used the Zenith Blade to lock down the Victor, I think an easy follow-up from the Brandon Draven could knock him out in a couple of seconds. But the blue team, seeing that Drake was going over, are going to be grabbing this Scuttle for themselves. Or wait, not Scuttle. Well, I guess it is a Scuttle grab. Poor Shelly there. Turned all corrupted into the Rift Herald by powers of the Void. The power of Baron Nashor. We'll see where they end up using that. So just as a quick rundown for when you generally want to use a Scuttle Crab, it's very good. Oh, actually, I might come back to that later. Lennox decides that the go button is now. He's going to be throwing up an Undertow, a 3-man Chaos Storm, and a huge Rupture coming out from the Cho'Gath. That's going to be incredible DPS on the blue side. So we talk about AoE from one team, a fantastic Q land from that Cho'Gath. Sometimes it is so hard to land those max range Cho'Gath Qs, especially when you're trying to land it without, not as a follow-up to other chain CC. Herald does actually headbutt that already dead turret, which means she'll save her health to hit this one, and that's half the inhib tower health going down already. Very good combos here coming out from the blue side. Good stuff indeed, but because of the AoE prowess red team has, you cannot count them out. We saw just a couple minutes earlier that they turned around that team fight that dragged out for a little too long. They're able to get that triple kill. If they find something similar, like with the Amumu catching out the most fed member on the blue team, Olaf's ultimate is down. Is he going to try to flash? I don't know if his flash is up. No! That is going to be one extra kill over to the red team. Now, suddenly, the most fed member on the blue side is gone for this potential Baron. If they want to try to rush us down, that's going to be very dangerous because they don't have all 5 members. They don't have a team composition that can really nuke down single targets very quickly. They gave up that power at the expense of getting the AoE. They do have Quick Ben Ace. Very wise, staying just beyond the max range of the Amumu bandage toss. Now, ultimate does come out from Brand. That's going to kind of push the blue team back. And I think neither team are really going to get engaged on, but Destructive Life taking a lot of extra damage here. Now, he does have the Spirit Visage, so he's going to be able to sustain a lot of this, especially with the addition of the Sona, who, for the record, is going for that Lich Bane, as Beaton H pointed out in the chat, which I still don't agree with, but you can do you, buddy. He has not died very much this game. He has pretty average level of death. Well, I guess technically the most on his team, but not an abhorrent amount of deaths. I think probably the DPS gain you get from giving your Kog'Maw an additional like 40% attack speed greatly overwhelms the extra damage you can get off of a single auto through your power cord. And Lich Bane Sona, I think, could probably be useful in solo queue, where you it gives you a little bit more initiative, and you're able to kind of decide the fights yourself. And actually, I'll get back to that point in a second, because Inspire found his prey. Lennox going to be trying to pop his ultimate to survive, but the ultimate actually reduces your resistances. Double flash is coming out. Is Aurelia going to be able to follow up? She does not get the cooldown reset on her Blade Surge, so another undertow, but she does have the ability maxed up enough. Looks like Cho'Gath, meanwhile, going to be going in onto the Leona. The red team is completely split up here, so they cannot take this fight. They have to run away. But it looks like the teleport actually coming out from the Brand. He's going to try to follow up with the AoE. There goes a Pillar of Flame. 1 kill going over to east side. A good Pyroclasm, and Deja Volzy might go down if he has that third proc of the passive. I guess maybe that already hit, because he has fallen pretty dang low there. A very solid teleport from Inspire. I do want to compliment Inspire for his usage of teleports in this game. Both times I've noticed him use it, it's been to really supplement these fights and try to dissuade the enemy from making very strong aggressive plays. So I think Inspire is really probably the MVP of the game so far, on the red side. MVP of his team so far. Just with how he's been able to find the positions for those multi-man Pillar of Flames, the multi-man Pyroclasms, being able to keep that map awareness alive via the teleport. But blue team are not backing down. I do like the fact that somebody at least purchased a control ward on this side. So they do have a small peppering of wards around the rest of the map. You can see some around these bushes in the mid lane, which are very important because they are still trying to defend this turret. Probably want to reduce some of my mouse sensitivity maybe after this game. But I do want to point out that the bot lane is pushing in toward the blue base. And because they still have that first turret up, if the red team just kind of stall out and let those minions push by themselves, that might be enough once they get this third wave to crash in, just to give them a free turret, which is obviously going to be pretty helpful. The gold right now is exactly even. Oh, give or take 1,000 gold. I guess I've seen it been more even in history. Sometimes you have games that are actually only a difference of less than 100, but both teams actually looking toward this Infernal Drake. Interesting that the blue side didn't decide to counter push into the Baron, but they're looking to contest this red team. Now, with all the AoE that red team has, they're going to have to be very careful not to get caught out and get clumped up by the Amumu ultimate, but that is exactly what happens. 4 people get stunned out. A double solar flare coming out from the Leona, but Brand was getting zoned. He was not able to follow up with his ultimate, so that means they were not able to get the great combo off. Kama coming in with his passive. We'll see if they're able to do anything. A flash coming out from the Draven, keeping him just barely alive. Inspire just gonna be putting out enough to throw out some of the DPS to help out Irelia. She gets the triple kill into the ace. Really well played by the red side. Looks like they're going to be transitioning that into an immediate bottom lane turret. They are up in about 15 seconds, so I don't know if they'll be able to get the inhibitor, but they'll surely get the inner turret, maybe even the inhib turret. But with Olaf Kog'Maw coming up right about now, that I think they'll want to back off after this. Olaf is going to have his ultimate up momentarily, which means that he can run at and kill Bran in a matter of seconds. All Kog'Maw has to do is position himself pretty far back here, and he can deal free damage to the Irelia. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Sitting at a place where they can't dive him, can't return the fire, and basically that's all Quick Ben Ace wants to do this game. Sit there, get the Ardent Sensor from Sona, which she has now purchased. I do appreciate the fact that, so even though it's not optimal to build parts of items and switch it up immediately, I think getting the Ardent Sensor ASAP is definitely worth it in this case, because you have Kog'Maw and Olaf as 2 champions that really enjoy benefiting from that extra attack speed. And even though in this patch it doesn't quite give you the health on hit anymore, it looks like Amumu going to be coming in trying to get the smite. That's not going to be it, though. He does not have flash to follow up with an ultimate. Nobody on his team was there anyways. Victor popping his ultimate too. Getting a little bit excited there. Probably not completely necessary, but When you're up against a Cho'Gath Feast in addition to a regular Jungle Smite, it is so hard to go in for that kind of Miracle Steal. And I can commend Amumu for maybe trying it. They did. It's important that the red team had very good wave control going into that Baron. And obviously, wave manipulation is something you have to set up a minute or two beforehand. But because they have a double wave pushing at this mid lane, and they had already answered the counter push from the bottom lane, so that it was going back to pushing into the bottom lane, that means that blue team, after doing the Baron, could not transition that into an instant inhibitor tower. So, for instance, if blue team had run up mid and shoved the mid lane into the Baron, I don't know if that was possible given the time window that they had to rush the Baron down with. But if there was a minion wave maybe like right here when they got the Baron, they might have been able to join it instantly at the turret. So trying to keep an eye on the waves and see which way they're pushing is very pivotal to setting up plays in advance. And so for instance, this Kog'Maw is going to be killing this wave. That's going to start sending this wave up top. So it should be hitting there at maybe the 31 to 32 minute mark, depending on if they stay in the wave and help it, or if they go to the mid lane. Now, Olaf, going to be going back to the bottom side himself. He does have a big wave on his own, and I'm not sure if they want Brand to be dealing with this. With the Baron buff, it's so hard for ability power champions to really clear it, but the rest of blue team are staying top lane. They might lose their inhibitor for free. Victor throwing out a single ultimate, but when he doesn't have the team to follow up, that's not really anything he can do. Almost kills the Irelia, but with the proper juggle of tower aggro, she's able to flash out from that, save herself, and this is just going to be a base race situation where Irelia is debating going back or not. I think Irelia should go back at the moment, just so that she can start defending the Nexus towers if that were to be something on the table, but it looks like they do trade one inhib for one inhib, which is very interesting kind of set of circumstances here. Now Olaf is actually stopping the back. Looks like Kog'Maw is going to be staying on the inhibitor turret with the Cho'Gath. Good thing Irelia is here to maybe provide a little bit of defense. She's going to be with Amumu by herself. Meanwhile, Kog'Maw's already killed one turret. Looks like Leona might be going down as well. This could be the winning push. Olaf does have teleport. He's going to be coming in now. If they don't kill Kog'Maw right here, that could be the end of the game. He does go down, but they still have two players on the member of the Cho'Gath and Olaf. This could be extremely dangerous, and now Olaf is going to be committing to ending the Aurelia's life. Looks like Cho'Gath going to be trying to commit to ending the push on the red side. Very important, they have a super minion, but is Cho'Gath going to be able to do it by himself? I don't think so. Olaf is finally going to be meandering back to the lane, but he's just going to give it up. And a hero play, honestly, from Soku there. Being able to find the kill with Amumu onto the Kog'Maw literally saved them this game. And I say literally in its actual definition sense, not the not the colloquial exaggerated use of the term. So Irelia, I do want to talk about her build really quick. She does have a Triforce into a Blade of the Ruin King into a Titanic Hydra, which means if she actually gets into a split push situation against the Olaf, she is going to absolutely destroy this Viking. So Olaf is generally a counter matchup in lane. But if you look at what he's invested all that gold, all that CS, all the kills into, he has an adaptive helm and a Righteous Glory and a Spirit Visage. Now the Ninja Tabi that he got first item is obviously still pretty useful, but he has no armor aside from this one cloth that he just bought. He has to pop his ultimate to try to get out here. If Amumu waits for that to be over, he might be able to follow up with another CC ability, but looks like they're all going to back off. But basically, because Irelia has the Blade of the Ruin King and the Trinity Force, that gives her a huge amount of single target damage. And she has a Ninja Tabi as well, which is going to mitigate the majority of Olaf's damage onto her. So Irelia is basically going to be winning the split push matchup. My goodness, sorry, against Olaf every single time. Now there is a world where she doesn't have a lot of tank items. So if she goes into a split push lane against the Cho'Gath, obviously Cho'Gath maybe not your usual split push candidate because he doesn't have the teleport being a jungler. The Righteous Glory does have a little bit of armor. Oh yeah, that's right. They did, sorry, I'm thinking of the old build with the Catalyst. Oh yeah, thanks for the correction. That being said, I still think Irelia does have the better one-on-one matchup. But yeah, you're absolutely right. And then, so, if they do decide to send the Cho'Gath, it's possible that she gets instantly bursted by the combo into Gargoyle Feast. So, we'll see how Blue Team decides to deal with that. Now, a lot of times top laners have to, looks like Quick Ben Ace, gonna have to use his QSS there to avoid the possibility of getting bursted down. Just trying to be safe there, and that cooldown will be up in a little while. They might just wait for the Baron buff to be up. That way, the Quicksilver Sash will basically be coming up around the same time. Where Baron's up in about a minute, QSS is a minute and a half cooldown, so essentially if you're getting into a Baron fight, you're going to have that back up. And I think you probably don't want to risk a non-cleansing Kog'Maw in this fight. Just because of the amount of CC that the red team has. Every single person on the red team has some form of CC. And even though you're usually not going to see Draven using Stand Aside against Kog'Maw in these fights, just because Kog'Maw's going to be so far away from where Draven's attacking from, it might even be worth it for Sona to go something like a Mikael's Crucible. Because Kog'Maw is just going to be shredding through these targets like butter. Silky smooth. Irelia does not have a lot of tanky stats herself. She does have a Hex Drinker, the Ninja Tabi, but she didn't go for something like the Randuin's Omen or a Dead Man's Plate or something like that, or a Thorn Mail. So Kog'Maw's still going to be very effective at dealing teamfight damage to her. And a lot of times, I usually say that it's better for the top laner to go more tanky so that they can kind of work with their team to get their carries to deal the damage output while they basically soak the entire time. But in this case, because red team also have the Amumu and the Leona to really be that frontline mega tank, especially when you have one Gargoyle Stone play on the Amumu, I think Irelia can probably afford to get away with this more DPS focused build. And we actually saw that having the extra Trinity Force was really crucial in stopping Kog'Maw from winning the game back when they're in the base race situation. Speaking of a race, looks like Baron's going to be coming out here. Now, Leona is instantly wise to it. They don't have Brand. He does have Teleport, but I think Brand has to teleport in right now. For anything to happen, looks like that's going to be a multi-man Amumu ultimate. Sona trying to get out if she can. Yes, she's going to be alive just for a second. Ispire going to be throwing out the Pyroclasm as well. Draven is still alive, but so is Kog'Maw in this fight. It's basically who gets collapsed on first, and looks like it's going to be the Draven. The frontline died before the frontline died for the red team before they could get through to the Kog'Maw and friends. That's going to be an extra lead for the blue team. That might lead into the game. And a lot of that just came out of how powerful champions like the Victor, Kog'Maw, Cho'Gath are in the late game. Cho'Gath is physically and health-wise a huge champion to ever try to take down. You have the Draven, who doesn't deal good frontline, who isn't a good frontline buster. Looks like Amumu going to be trying in for a last-ditch effort, but nobody was able to take down Destructive Life in that last team fight. Nobody's able to take down Quick Ben Ace. He's going to get a quick win into this game. Starting off the tournament 1-0, I believe. And that whole game, I do believe the labels... I'm not sure if the labels of the team were actually correct. I know it was Team 1, Team 2, but I didn't double check to see which side they were. But hopefully, they were all good. Going back to the screen, let's just check out the damage charts. Before I look, I think Kog'Maw did a bunch of damage. Olaf did a ton early game. But I think later on, he was mostly a frontliner. So... there we go. Victor actually pulling in for first on the blue team. And Brand doing what he can, but that was such a difficult fight to win for the red side when they're approaching the Baron situation at that really awkward angle. It was very... Amumu got a good multi-man ultimate, but what he had to spend to get to that position, I think, was too much for the rest of his team to really follow up in the perfect way they want to. So the next game on the docket is going to be, I believe it is going to be, this is the standings. Team 9 versus, I'm not sure who they're playing first, but I'm casting both their games today. Team 9 versus Team 7, and then Team 9 versus Team 10. Which is neither of these guys, so I guess I will not be joining them, unfortunately. Alrighty. Now, before we go on, start setting up for the next game, which will be happening, I believe, in about 20 minutes. In terms of MVPs this game, I'll probably have to go with Lennox, the team captain for the blue side. He was just so... He had such a presence on the map. He went up 4-1 in lane, which is a favorable matchup, but you do have to kind of follow through on that. Where I think Draven Leona is actually a favorable matchup in the bottom lane, but they had some difficulties actually finding the auto spacing to take a term from Double Lift. Trying to get that auto spacing perfectly to actually capitalize on the fact that they can go all in against the Sona. But good job by Len, and good props to... I keep saying that Draven's not really maybe taking advantage, or Leona, but also very well played by Quick Benace and Deja Volzy, staying safe in that matchup. I don't want to disparage one side and then not give props to the other, because it is a combination of everything. But I think Lennox, just being able to absolutely steamroll anything in his path, he did a good job in the mid game also, where somebody was caught out just by themselves, and he instantly popped that ultimate, threw out the undertow, and got them dead. So well played by Lennox. I do want to give a very special shout out to It's Spire, because he was definitely doing work for his team. And Amumu did land several very good multi-man ultimates, but unfortunately was not able to be enough going into this. I think I will probably turn off the stream for 20 minutes. If you guys want to tune in again instead of just keeping it on, so I can do things like maybe get a drink, and I don't know, do things off camera so that you guys won't be able to hear me. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in about a half hour.